Welcome everybody and thank you for clicking on this video. Today we've got a battle report for a game I had using the new chapter approved mission deck against World Eaters. Before we get into the lists, if you do enjoy the battle report, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. A quick run through of the list that I was using. I am running the Champions of Contagion detachment, and with that I'm bringing quite a few characters as the whole detachment runs around attached units. So we have Typhus, we have the Biologist Putrefier, who does have the final ingredient attachment. We have a Lord of Contagion, the Lord of Poxers with the Cornucophagus enhancement. If you haven't seen the tips and tricks video for the Lord of Poxers on the channel, please do take a look at that. I run through some of the best ways to utilize the unit. The Lord of Virulence, the Malignant Plague Caster, and the Tallyman. So the general plan here is to stick the Biologist Putrefier and the Malignant Plaguecaster on the 10-man Plague Marine unit, and the Lord of Poxers goes with the 5-man, but that is flexible to go however the game requires, but in this game that is how it was run. We do have a 10-man Plague Marine unit. They are loaded out with the champion having a plasma in both. The 10-man has 2 Blight Launchers, 2 Melters, 2 Spewers, and 3 Heavy Plague Weapons. And the 5-man is 1 Bubotic Weapon, 1 Plasma, and 2 Heavy Blade Weapons. We have 2 3-man units of Death Shroud for the Lord of Contagion and either Typhus or the Lord of Virulence to join. 3 units of 10 Poxwalkers, great for infiltrating or making early turn pressure moves. 2 units of 2 Chaos Spawn. They are excellent little skirmishers, can do movement blocks or can make turn 1 charges, which is great for the pressure. The Death Guard Land Raider, that in this game contains a 3-man Death Shroud unit and the Lord of Virulence, as well as the Lord of Poxers and the 5-man unit because of the 14 capacity that they just fit in. The 10-man did start on the board, as we'll see in the deployment later. We have 2 Heavy Blight Launcher drones and 1 Spitter drone. And taking a look at the World Eaters list, they are bringing a Bezerker Warband that is led by Khan the Betrayer. He's excellent little melee beat stick, and he goes with a unit of Khorne Berserkers. There is the Demon Prince of Khorne, the Foot's Demon Prince, not the winged one, and he takes the Helm of Brazen Ire. He had 2 Slaughterbound characters, one with the Favourite of Khorne, which I think allows them to reroll 2 Blessings dice, and one with a Berserker Glaive, increasing the damage on attacks. The Slaughterbound join 2 units of 8-bound, so 1 each. There is a Chaos Rhino for the Berserkers and Khan to go in and run and charge out of. He brought 3 unit of Chaos Spawn. They scout 8 and they move really far, can advance and charge, so they are super quick. There's 2 Forge Fiends on the board. Both of them have the 3 ectoplasmic guns, so they're pretty scary if they get within 18. There is 2 units of Jackals, and then there are 2 melee Hellbrutes. For this bat rep, I did take some videos before and after each turn, so we'll be able to see the strategy on the day. I am going to jump through onto TTS to mimic the game and run through some key points and some key tips that could be useful to players. So we're playing with a new mission deck. It's World Eaters Bezerker Warband versus the Champions of Contagion. We are playing Hidden Supplies, the new mission rule, and it's on the UKTC Search and Destroy. So we have here the 10-man Plague Marines. The Land Raider contains the 5-man Plague Marines with the Lord of Poxers and a Death Shroud unit with the Lord of Virulence. The Contagion units in the sky, and Typhus is on his own in the sky. Poxwalkers are screening home. We have the Heavy Blight Launcher drone, Flamer drone, Spawn, Heavy Blight Launcher drone, Poxwalkers, and Poxwalkers up there. And then for the World Eaters, Spawn, Jackals, 8-bound with the Slaughterbound, Jackals screening home, Jackals here, Demon Prince, more Spawn, Hellbrute, Khan with his boys in a Rhino, and another Slaughterbound with 8-bound, and then a Forge Fiend and a Forge Fiend. So it's going to be interesting. We'll have to see who goes first. And we are now on TTS, where I've recreated the deployment. Just to run through a few things, we've got the drones over this side of the board to be able to pressure and shoot anything that comes out this way. This is the heavy light launcher drone, and then this was where the splitter was, obviously out of any line of sight here from the Forge Fiends, able to push up and be aggressive. These spawns with their 6-inch scout were going to be able to end up sort of behind this rune, away from being shot in this way, if that was going to be the case. Also potentially used as a move block, depending on how aggressive I thought he was going to be. The other spawn are the same here. They can potentially push out here or push out over this objective because he's got the 8-bound here that will want to come down. So these are kind of the countermeasure for them. Another heavy blight launcher drone down here, again, can't be shot by the angles of the Forge Fiends or anything like this, and can just help reinforce this sort of area, making him not want to send out these without any sort of real commitment. Tallyman, just kind of, there wasn't any use for him in the positions at this point in time, so he was just going to be my screener because there was going to be a Hellbrute in reserve. So he was just sort of filling this hole. It's worth of note that there's no more no more containment in the mission deck. So usually he would potentially be right down here to just pop out and do that side, or up here. But now there's less actions for him to do. Depending on the mission type, he could still have a use of potentially just going out here and doing recover assets or sabotage or something like that. But for this game, I just popped him here. In terms of reserves, we had the Death Shroud all in Deep Strike. Typhus was a solo Deep Strike target, and then the Lord of Contagion joined one Death Shroud unit, and Lord of Virulence joined another. And then we had the Lord of Poxes, who was in the Land Raider. Oh, apologies, actually. The Lord of Virulence was in the Land Raider, along with the unit of Lord of Poxes and the Plague Marines. So the idea being that I had 2 ways to potentially fight him from the Land Raider if possible. So this was off the line of sight of any sort of shenanigans here from the Forge Fiends, even though the range wasn't going to be good to get them within the 18 for the rerolls. Still don't want to give anything away for free. So we've set up that if we go first, we can be aggressive and we can cover the points and make him come out and create a really nice move block here. And if he goes first, we're able to sort of take a first hit or first brunt. Remember that we have access to the 1 CP fights first here, so these guys are pretty much safe here. So let's see who goes first. We drew extend battle lines and attempting target, which is absolutely perfect for an infiltrating scouting army. We're across all 4 points. This was the attempting target because it didn't really make sense to, it didn't make any difference. We've sort of pre-staged everything in case he comes out, which kind of has to, but we will see how the World Eaters go on their turn 1. So as the video mentioned, we've sort of just moved everything out. We've tried to keep our distance with everything as far as we can. We advanced the drones because there was no shooting going to be available here. So we've got some OC on here. The Land Raiders are able to come out a little bit because we're not too worried about shooting again. We measured so that even if he came out, he was going to be 18 inches away there. The spawn were as far over as they could so that they were going to be annoying and they couldn't be shot. The same thing happening with these guys, just spreading out. This unit, the drone was far enough away so that it couldn't be charged by the 8-bound, even with a pile-in, and these Plague Marines had nothing to do, so these were just up against the wall. Again, 1 CP, we don't care about being charged. So it was on to the World Eaters turn 1. So after the World Eaters round 1, the Slaughterbound went in there to try and kill the Poxwog, could put -1 to hit, helped out, they survived. The Chaos Spawn luckily lived on 1 from all the Jackal attacks, and the Spawn here managed to do 2 mortals back on the Ica and kill some of the Jackals. This Spawn managed to stay alive, 1 died from their attacks there, and we're going into my turn 2. So the end of the World Eaters turn 1, he was wary that obviously we could potentially 6-inch deep strike him with the Death Shroud that were in the sky. So he was trying to cause as much screening as he could around these sort of areas. The Spawn went into spawn here and he killed 1. I think the rest of this one was fully healthy. We did have -1 to hit Plague up for the first turn because obviously we weren't going to be doing anything on our turn. So yeah, -1 to hit really helped the spawn, hitting on 5s and wounding on 4s because +2 strength on the charge. So he managed to survive. I think we did some mortals back there. They did manage to kill one of the spawn, but I think we ended up doing something like 4 mortals back to the jackals and some to his spawn here. So that was just kind of a bit of a slap fight. Obviously, he's achieved his goal of stopping me being on all the mid objectives with the matching of OC here. Everything else sort of just reshuffled around here. The Forge Fiend was still here. This one moved back so that it could easily potentially shoot down this angle for the turn afterwards. And the Hellboot and the Demon Prince wanted to be out of line of sight of this last cannon from the Land Raider. That's fine. One of the interesting things that did happen was I had moved the Poxwalkers out so that they were sort of a screen for these drones because I didn't just want them charging. So what was happening here was his plan was to only be able to charge. So I think he ended up here and he rolled a 7. So he wanted to get it so that the Slaughterbound was in combat here, but the other guys wouldn't be able to base if they went far enough. So then he was going to use the consolidation and the piling to effectively move this Slaughterbound back this side of the terrain, which was a really good idea. The thing where I fell down, obviously, as I mentioned before, it was -1 to hit, and the Slaughterbound didn't have enough attacks to kill the 10-man. Even though he did have sustained up, he made a slight mistake by choosing Dev wounds because we realised that Dev doesn't affect the beasts for the spawn. So he ended up with, I think it was one of the 8-bound and the Slaughterbound, and because of -1 to hit, and I think he rolled a couple of 1s to wound, and then I think we managed to get lucky as well with a saving throw. We end up keeping alive 3 Poxwalkers. So these guys were all fine dying, and what we wanted to do was make sure that this Slaughterbound was always going to have to pile into the Poxwalkers, which meant that he wasn't going to be able to get onto the other side of the objective. So if we pick out those and we have these 3, it means with the Slaughterbound's OC on here and with our drone as well, we will keep this point. And it meant that Slaughterbound had to consolidate. Obviously, he could choose not to consolidate, but it would still be out in the open. And we wanted to make sure that no matter what, this Slaughterbound stayed on this side of the wall, because that means that if we drop in some Death Shroud on this side, or we've got the guns over here, every time we shoot this guy, he has to kill these guys first because this is the character. So we're always going to be able to get shots into this unit and wipe it out realistically quite easily, because we'll have in the next turn we'll be able to switch to -1 save, and that means that most of the shots that are going into him are going to be on their invuln, and even with the flamers and things like that, it'll be on their invuln, and we can wipe out this unit very quickly. And that's pretty much the end of his turn. We are now setting up for our big push turn, and that's something that we've done here. So going on to the Death Guard turn to deep striking. The character is the visible model there, so we're going to hopefully kill off all the stuff and then use him to springboard off things. Heavy Blight Launchers doing screening as well. Heavy Blight Launchers can potentially shoot respawn, or potentially that Rhino up there. The Rhino's got Khan and the Berserkers in there, so we definitely want to try and pop that and pile in and do horrible things to them. We've got the Lord of Pots' unit out here and the Lord of Virulence. The Flamers can hopefully mop up all the Jackals and the Spawn. Yeah, we're going to see. We've got no prisoners and bring it down, so it's going to be a very bloody turn. So our objectives we drew for this turn was no prisoners and bring it down. So it's perfect for the go turn, and we are having quite a strong go turn here. So we moved the Blight Launcher drone up here. We want to have as many potential targets as we can. We can see the Rhino at long range if we do want to try and pop that and shoot in. We've got the spawn here. We have the spawn here as well. The Land Raider can also see this spawn and this spawn. There wasn't a way for us to get a line of sight with the Land Raider onto the Rhino, unfortunately. So that's okay. This drone just come to put its OC on here and be able to flame the spawn or the Jackals here. it's also able to see the slaughterbound. These poxwalkers did fall back just to keep the point and stay out of line of sight of anything. Again, we've got the blight launcher here to shoot downtown if we need to against the spawn and everything there. The Death Shroud with the load of Contagion came in 6 inches away from the Slaughterbound. They're going to try and flame as many of the people off here. And yeah, one thing that we did decide to do is the Plague Marine unit, they didn't have any sort of viable targets this turn, and rather than just have them out in the open, because there is a big scary Hellboot here and a Demon Prince, and the Forge Fiends can easily just pop out, and they will love the Plague Marine unit because of the blast. So we advanced them and got them into the Land Raider. So the main aim here is to try and kill this spawn unit, so we can obviously stop his scoring of any OC on the points. These Potswalkers, I think, do shove up so that they've just got more OC on there than him. Hopefully, again, they're just gone. These spawns should hopefully be gone by the end of turn. The Jackal should definitely be gone. The spawn should be gone. And then the Slaughterbound unit should, ideally, what the plan would be to try and kill all of the 8-bound and then use the Slaughterbound as a slingshot into the Rhino. And then the other plan was to make a couple of 7-inch charges into the Rhino. We were going to try and soften it up depending on the if this heavy blight launcher shot it or not. And yeah, that's the way we've trying to set out laid out the turn to go. So essentially, everything on this side will be untouched because we just can't interact with it. But we want to try and get all of these assets that he's exposed on his turn 1 off the board. And to do that, we need multiple activations into the Rhino. So the Lord of Potswalkers can make the charge, the Death Shroud can make the charge, and ideally, the Lord of Contagion unit can slingshot off the Slaughterbound into the Rhino. We had quite a mighty blowout down here. So we lined up 3 charges. There's the Death Shroud and the Lord of Poxers, and then the Lord of Contagion. The Lord of Contagion ended up making it on a 12 into the Rhino. The Lord of Poxers has made it in, but we failed the reroll with the Death Shroud. The preceding melee, the Lord of Contagion had to go into the Rhino because of the threat of -1 damage, which meant the Lord of Poxers was able to go into Khan's unit. We did pop quick 5s, but we didn't kill as many as we maybe hoped. So Khan hit back and wiped the Lord of Poxers Plague Marine unit, but he's unwounded. And now we've got the World Eaters. This is the board state for the rest of it. Kind of nicely staged at the back, but we've got all these horrible Griblies. And we've got fight on death and reroll charges. So they're definitely going to come out to play now. See how it goes. So if we take a run through what's happened here, we ended up killing the Slaughterbound, which wasn't great, but we still ended up having a 9-inch charge into the Rhino. We had 2 of the 7-inch charges here. Everything else got picked up by the shooting. I think both spawn here die, and I end up leaving one of these spawns on fairly wounded, but it's still there, so that's fine. The K spawn and the blood drone here lived, so it all came down to in the shooting phase, in the charge phase, can these guys all make it in? Because the Berserkers were in the Rhino, I think he had 2 CP still up, so we had to be wary of the heroic from the Hellbrute, which would just come on the board. There was just enough space to fit a Death Shroud on the side of the Rhino with the charge, so we could potentially make it so that it was going to be unchargeable. But yeah, we started off with the 2 7-inches, and we get on with the Lord of Poxers, so he sort of came in wherever it was that he could. I think we actually lose the Plasma Champion to Plasma Gun to overcharge. So these guys come through. If I change that to there, come through here, and then the next thing we do is we try charging the Death Shroud, and we fail, and we use our CP here, and we fail again. It's like, oh, right, this isn't going to go well because now we've got 1 unit in, we can potentially pop the Rhino, but then Khan can just get out and run wherever he wants. But we still had the 9-inch here, and we end up rolling boxcars, which was a bit crazy. So we end up being able to put these round as far as they possibly can. And the reason for that is we want to limit where the berserkers can get out. Obviously, they have to get out within 3 inches. So these guys do end up getting out. But the conundrum that there was is that ideally I wanted to kill the rhino with a lot of poxes. But because the World Eaters had 2 CP available, they could use the -1 damage, and then it makes it very unlikely for the Lord of Boxes and the heavy plague weapons to destroy the rhino. So what I do like to do instead, as I mentioned on the video, is go with the Lord of Contagion and the Death Shroud, which makes very short work of it. And then what ends up having to happen is they'll get out 3 inches away from it, but because there's not enough space to put all of the berserkers without us being able to pile in, we can still pile in with a lot of poxers, which is what we do. And we get all of these guys in, and I think we kill maybe 6 berserkers, and they do get to fight on death, so they do some bad damage back, but nothing too crazy. So it's a slightly weakened weakened berserker unit, but then they still do get to fight back. So, yep, that was the end of the Death Guard turn. I'm moving on to World Eaters turn 2. So World Eaters turn, Demon Prince and Slaughterbound came in and killed up the spawn and the drone here pretty easily. The Hellbrute got 2 activations. He used -1 damage, which was really good. He ended up living and then hit back and killed. He did better the second time. Khan finished off the Lord of Pox's unit, and the plasma guns from the Forge Fiends weren't particularly great into the 4-bin vulns. They probably survived more than they should. It's going into my turn. I've just drawn Storm Hostile and Established Locust. So Typhus is probably going to drop down the back and do Locust for 4 points, and we're going to try and kill these guys with the Plague Marines and the Las Cannons at things, make sure that we finish things off. He's only got 5 wounds. Oh yeah, the Chaos Spawn did 5 mortals after he died, which was hilarious. So the World Eaters kind of bounced on that turn. The ongoing combat here meant that the Lord of Pots units was dead, but the Khan managed to survive. The Hellbrute charged the Death Shroud unit and ended up not killing any on the first hit, but then after I hit it back, it did end up killing all of the Death Shroud, so he's still in base with a lot of virulence, which was good. We did speak about it afterwards, that if he'd slightly changed the positioning of the Hellbrute, it would have been able to consolidate because he wouldn't have been in base to base with the character, which was obviously going to be the last one alive, and then he would have been able to pile in, consolidate, into the Land Raider, and then get an attacks on the Land Raider after the Land Raider hit it. So cheeky little thing you can do there with the Hellbrute. And then, yeah, the Demon Prince came down here, killed the Spawn, and the Slaughterbound and the A-Bound made mincemeat of the drone. And then, yeah, the Spawn didn't really do anything. The Forge Fiends shot at the Terminators in the middle, didn't really do anything. And the Forge Fiend up here shot at these Terminators. I think maybe killed one, I can't remember, but the damage 3 wasn't great into there, and the 4-ups saves were quite good. So going into my turn, we are in a fairly powerful position now because the Land Raider isn't tagged, and it contains the full 10-man. We will just bring this sort of down here, get all these guys out, and do as much damage to the stuff around here. I think we said we got Locust and Typhus drop down at the back here, still able to do his mortals and get us the 4 points for the Locust score. Hellbrute got popped after the Lord of Violence fell down. I think the last cannons got straight through there. This drone came over here to get Corn. These guys wanted to go and kill this Hellbrute, and this guy moved over to be able to do extra shots. I think it was like here or whatever it was to be able to shoot here. So the Plague Marines unloaded onto the Demon Prince and the 8-pound and the Slaughterbound with all the guns. They ended up picking up. This went down to 2 wounds, I think, and the Plague Marines end up charging the Demon Prince and end up popping that, which also triggered Final Ingredient. A little Slap fight down here. The Poxwalkers charged a 1 wound spawn and didn't actually kill it, so that was still alive for the next turn. But at this point, we have now got control of all the mid objective. Khan ended up getting flamed and got back up, and then tank shocked by the drone and then died. So that's another one of his threats. And then these guys with a lot of contagion end up charging the Hellboot, killing the Hellboot, and piling into the Forge Fiend, so that it could no longer shoot because it had no eligible targets, and it's blast with them there. This would probably get overwatched if it did move, and it's only on 2 wounds, and then there's only the Jackals left. So a fairly comprehensive win in the end. We managed to utilize a lot of our units while tempting out some of the stronger ones of his. And I think this play at the top here with the Rhino and the Berserkers with Khan was a real big swing point. Being able to get them out and popping them and taking them out so that they couldn't get the charge bonuses with their strength and attacks and everything meant that the Death Shroud and the Lord of Boxers unit were able to weather that storm. So, yeah, pretty lethal turn. Land Raider moved here, and the Plague Marines got out. We did a little split firing. That Force Fiend managed to live on 2. Typhus did some mortals, actually didn't roll a 1. He rolled a 6. Last Cannons took down the Demon Prince. The Flamers and everything took down the 8-bound, and then we charged and proc final ingredient. Flamers took down Khan up there, and then he got back up, and then we tank shot him to death perfectly. Lord of Contagion managed to go in there, charge the Hellboot, and then pile into the Forge Fiend. So that's obviously not going to be able to shoot anything good this turn because of Blast. So yeah, the board state is pretty much Death Guard, sped in the Plagues, which is good. And we had Locusts, which Typhus did, and Storm Hostile, which we stormed this one. So yeah, we're going to call it there because Steed doesn't have anything left really. Spawn, which did survive all the Poxwalkers biting it, which was hilarious. But yeah, good fun. So final thoughts on the game. It was a really fun game to play. I think the Death Guard are a little bit too strong at the moment, but we'll see how that ends up shaking up with the meta with the other strong armies coming in. I feel like the army list is strong, and we can see how it will play on the new UKTC maps when they are released. But there's things that you can prod and poke with, and then good trading pieces, and then some real hammer units. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the pat rep, and please do like and subscribe and leave a comment, and look forward out for the next one. Thanks.